Hello everyone, I haven't done one of these for ages. I have to remember how to do it, which is always a problem, but thank you for joining me. Do like, subscribe if you enjoy the content as you go along. It helps me out a great deal. This was a bit of a weird one. I had done a stream and I dropped into a after show or a post-debate discussion session over on Breakfast Talk, and I will link him in the description below, and maybe in the title as well. You'll be able to figure out where to find it. But it was sort of between the debate. Was between a friend of mine, Godless Engineer, and also some guy, Rob, somebody who seemed perfectly ridiculously dishonest all the way through to me. I had not seen the debate though, so coming in, I sort of didn't know what to expect, and I was unpleasantly surprised, let's put it that way. So if you are triggered by sort of the Christian nationalistic talking points, yeah, this one's going to get a bit weird. But one of the things I did notice was a guy by the name of Even. I believe his name was Even or Evan or something like that. This young man, or I presume he was a young man. I don't know for sure. I wouldn't presume that. I don't want to sound like one of those people sort of going, "Oh, young man," when they're just my age. But he didn't seem to have a good grasp on sort of the problems with authoritarianism and the problems with one sect or one section of the community basically oppressing another one. And there seemed to be this very, dare I say, Machiavellian idea of, well, if it makes the society stronger, then we should do it. If it makes the society more powerful over its neighbours. And it was very alarming. And I found myself wondering how somebody gets to this point. I suspect it is sort of the outcome of that alt-right pipeline, that idea that the only way you can get ahead is to hit somebody else and then clamber up over them, that everything is a competition and you have to be part of the ruling class of a society, completely antithetical to everything I believe about a society where the ruling class should be the people, and why that's important, why that giving people unrestricted power to implement whatever form of hierarchy they want is a really terrible idea. So it got onto a number of topics, but I found that he didn't really sort of understand the concept of, without tolerance for other people, other ethnicities, other religions, other ideas, you will get sort of this degradation of society downwards into violence. And he seemed to think that made the society more cohesive and not less, which didn't seem to make any sense whatsoever. And by the end of it, he had some positions that, I think that if they were implemented, almost every person in society would have a problem with that level of degradation of our fellow human beings. So I think that he really has misunderstood that not only do most people in the society not believe the same as him, but probably most Christians in society didn't believe the same as him. But it was an interesting conversation, and I don't wish ill on him. I don't wish harm on him. I think that he's just been convinced by somebody that there is no way for our society, with different kinds of cultures, different kinds of nationalities or ethnic backgrounds, different religions, can ever live in peace. That can never happen. And I think that he's been lied to. I think there's a lot of societies throughout the world that have a lot of different cultures, and they're stronger for it. I think we can sort of point to the most tolerant societies as generally being the most happiest, of course. But he seemed to take this maybe on faith, maybe on something he's been utterly convinced of, that this would never happen. And what was interesting is he also sort of said, well, I'm never going to be part of the elite. I'm never going to be part of the ruling class. So he's sort of got to get on side with them. I think this is also something that alt-right pipeline teaches them that you aren't exceptional, so you don't want to be part of the people being oppressed. You want to be the oppressors. And there's a flaw in there. There's a big flaw in there, that you don't have to be either. That you cannot be an elite and still have a good life. And it's very strange that they're sort of, well, I'm not going to be an elite. I'm not going to be, controlling the nation. So I'm going to oppress people because it's better than being oppressed. Or, alternatively, you could stop oppressing people and stop people from being oppressed, and you wouldn't be oppressed as well. I found it very interesting, though. And again, I don't blame Evan. I think he's just been lied to about a great many things, and some of them did come out during the conversation. I did watch the debate that John did beforehand, and it was bad. I found his opponent incredibly dishonest. I found him disingenuous. He was just misrepresenting Godless Engineer every opportunity he could. It was quite horrifying. But do remember, I hadn't seen the debate going into this, so I had no idea what I was going in for. But I hope you enjoy, and I hope that you can sort of listen without getting angry at somebody that's, obviously he doesn't understand the consequences of what he is suggesting. He doesn't understand the entailments of what he's suggesting, what it can lead to, what the true suffering actually is. I don't think he really understands. I don't think he's had that experience of knowing people that have truly suffered under certain regimes that are out there. But I hope that he opens his eyes and sees that those people suffer. It's never a good thing, and it's never cohesive to a society. Anyway, hope you enjoy. Let's get ready to rumble.
What's up, Mark and Karen? Do you guys have any comments on the debate?
I didn't see the debate. I had a stream to do, so I can't really comment on the debate. John's usually really good. I don't know, how he did tonight. He's usually pretty damn good, to be honest with you. I'm really impressed by him.
Well, I am too, but for some reason he just fell flat tonight.
I think he wasn't prepared for the rhetorical tricks that Rob was pulling out. Rob was pulling a very subtle trick about sourcing, where he essentially equivocated. Like, he basically said like this: I've seen that source fail once or twice before, so now I'm just not going to accept the source. He quickly pivoted from talking about the specific things that John was citing and moved over to other things prior that they didn't like.
Right.
So it was just like a cheap genetic fallacy, but Rob was really good at talking so fast that you almost couldn't track how quickly he changed subjects. Like I haven't seen anyone.
That was the Gish galloping.
I mean, like, I don't like giving, should not hand it to him, but that was fast.
Well, I don't mind Gish Gallop as long as you get the time to respond to all of the points that they put down. If it is just Gish Gallop, but you only get to address one point, well, yeah, I think it's a problem. I think
that's what was going on. Yeah, that's what was going on.
Yeah,
and that's what I had a big problem with.
A problem with Godless Engineer is that he talked over Rob a lot, and that gave Rob the justification to go and try to talk over Godless Engineer. And so it stopped any possible chance of Godless Engineer saying, hey, let's stop for a second and cover this one topic at a time. That's kind of like where Godless Engineer shot himself in the foot a little bit. I feel like Godless Engineer wasn't prepared for Rob himself. He was just taking he didn't do his research. So he just thought that Rob was just like a Nick Fuentes when he's anything but.
Yeah, right. But I think that Rob's decision to basically, he admitted it. He tried to blow up the debate. He said, like, oh, I'm just going to overtalk. Like you said, Bloodbath is like this. So I'm just going to break down the debate, be a bad faith interlocutor because you said it was okay. And I thought that was really, like, honestly, we've had some pretty shady, dishonest, or just people who just didn't know what they were doing up here. But that really was a next level of what the hell do you think that you're doing? I wouldn't admit that in public, my friend, right? It was just like, oh yeah, it was all rhetoric and it was just designed to stop us from talking about anything substantive,
Yeah.
Well, it depends what you define as a bloodbath debate, because I would see a bloodbath debate as kind of being very passionate and stuff like that. But I mean, if you get like the Jim Bob and Andrew Wilson, they define it as completely bad faith,
Okay, so
decorum whatsoever.
a mega bloodbath is a one-on-one where they have introductions and conclusions in an hour with additional time allotted by audience super chats. So it could be up to 2 hours and then some additional time if there's a lot of super chats to speed run the super chats that we were able to get to, right? And so, but it's a back and forth for them to have an open discussion, right? Ideally, they're sharing the time relatively equally. Over talking happens, but it's not ideal. The goal is to not over talk a ton, right?
Right.
Because it will happen, but if you're just both talking at the same time, nobody can understand what either of you are saying, and you can't understand each other and respond to each other, right? It's a conversation, not talking at each other, right? And so most of the time they end up being pretty chill conversations, which is the way. Sometimes they get a little bit heated, but even when they get heated,
that's usually, okay. Yeah, that's all right.
They still have a back and forth.
Yeah,
right?
this didn't have
yelling at each other at the same time.
Yeah,
right?
this one devolved into just yelling at each other, talking. Mm-hmm. I think it was out of frustration on GE's part and just exuberance by Rob's part. I think that's what caused that, and it's never really the best way to exchange ideas or talk. It just didn't work. Well, that's why I think nobody, in my opinion, really nobody won that one.
Yeah. Oh man, he was trying to go fast. I forgot to read the Bible verse. I screwed up.
Read the
missed
Bible.
Opportunity.
Oh well.
Yeah, I screwed up there.
Oh well.
I was trying to get them out because they wanted to go because it's late for them.
Well, the question streamer, I would have is which Christians for nationalism? Like, which Christians are you talking about? Because they're not all the same.
Yeah, there's 4,000 different versions.
Yeah. No, Mark, I thought the debate was very unfulfilling because both words did not get defined, right?
Yeah.
So we never found out what a Christian was, and we never found out what a nationalist was. And it was basically just Rob evangelizing and John saying, well, I don't believe that. And I mean, that's fine if you're going to have a debate about is Christianity true, but that's not what that debate was supposed to be about.
I wouldn't call it evangelization. I would say it was more Rob just trying to promote a more Christian society. And that's what
you're making a consequentialist case for Christianity. It's exactly what he did. He specifically denied many of the Christian nationalist platform ideas while actually supporting them. He did a huge Mott and Bailey dance where every time he got pushed, he'd retreat to Christian patriotism. But every time he was advocating for a white ethno-state.
Right.
Explicitly.
I would have really liked to have heard Rob explain in detail what exactly his model of Christian nationalism was, what exactly he envisioned it being. And we never heard
evangelical, or was he sort of Eastern or
evangelical? No, it's look, it's not about Christianity. The people who these people are upset about are coming from Central America. They're either Catholic or evangelical. They're all Christian.
Right.
So this has nothing to do with religious people. It has everything to do with control the culture and making it sort of Protestant-ish, even if they want to say they're Orthodox, Christian-like white state.
I wanted to hear about how it would be brought into nationalism. What would that entail? What would that
entail? People what would be national? Right? That's what he said at the very beginning. He thinks that people who are white Europeans should be running the country. And he said it right up front without even being prompted. And then got upset because people were saying he was racist. Like, I don't know.
He never said that. The only thing he said was that he didn't support Zendani for being
he said white European Christians should run the country.
That's did say that.
What he said.
He said that for sure.
You're right. But
I think that's my point is interpreted.
Right. My
I'm not interpreting. It's what he said.
He did. You're telling me someone who was very rhetorically sharp the entire night, who did Mott and Bailey's and who was able to deflect from every point.
Real fast, there's a weird AI avatar in the back. I don't know if that's like one of those face tracking ones, but if it is, can you wave at the camera real fast?
Yeah,
Just so I can know that's not recorded.
He gave the game away right away. And let me be clear, a Christian state in the United States is inherently racist, because what's the religion of the land of the United States? It's native tribal religion. That is the religion that grew up here. If you're promoting any religion other than that,
yeah, sorry, my
pluralism,
arms don't move.
You're promoting a racist doctrine.
How many natives are left?
In other words, we genocided them, so now it's ours? Is that your argument?
Well,
they
wondering...
suffered a horrible plague, and then they lost a series of wars. I wouldn't call it genocide.
No, there was explicit genocide.
You don't know.
Do we need to go get the history book, Evan?
Yeah, you just don't know the history.
Evan, you're just factually wrong. There were literally people convicted for doing genocide. They were so genocidal that the U.S. military at the time was like, "Whoa, buddy, we like our genocides to be a little smaller than this,
a little more discreet."
Cool rhetoric. Do you have an example?
Okay, I'll go get it for you, Evan. Welcome to the free history lesson by Kieran. I'll be right back. I'll put it in back chat for you. Please continue,
want Trail of Tears? Is that enough of a cruel and horrible thing to do?
He's just going to say, but that one wasn't so bad, and that one wasn't so bad. And what about
really?
And what about the fact that the population was declined by 95% from the beginning to the end? That's not a big deal. That's not something that, that was just bad luck.
No, it's the issue of being in a continent that had very few domesticated animals, so they didn't have.
Oh, you're gonna do Jared Diamond bullshit? Grow up and read someone who's not a racist.
Tell me, when it comes to smallpox and stuff like that, where did that come from? Did it come from cows?
From blankets that white European Christians gave the natives to give them smallpox.
Cowpox comes. No. Okay, cowpox comes from cows. Smallpox comes from humans.
People, yeah.
Right.
No, what I'm saying is that smallpox is like smallpox is benign for a cow, but when it goes and it has a zoonotic shift, then it becomes
even
dangerous to humans.
Stop. You don't know what you're talking about. Cowpox and smallpox are different diseases.
Yep.
And in fact, cowpox inoculated humans against smallpox.
Correct. People who got cowpox,
that was the first vaccinations was through cowpox,
had less mortality and less morbidity from smallpox.
Evan, you have a link now to Wikipedia to John M. Shivington, one of the most infamous mass murderers of that era. Please feel free to go read about how he ignored orders and continued to kill people because of his racist agenda. I invite you to learn all you can about American history. It's fascinating. And
American history. John Sherman was a terrible piece of shit who did horrible things.
Like this is what about
John Sherman. Who's John Sherman?
He was also a Union general who did.
I've never heard of John Sherman in my life. Who are you talking about? Huh?
Sherman's March to the Sea. I probably got.
Are you talking about William Tecumseh Sherman?
Yeah,
it's like John Elden Ring, or John
John
Sherman.
Dude.
Evan.
Casey, you are on the panel and you can talk. I just don't have you pulled up visually. Because I haven't encountered this before, and this is kind of weird.
Just going in
prejudice against VTubers.
Just not sure what to think because we get a bunch of trolls in here.
Yeah, especially tonight.
Okay. Be a lot of work to put in virtual, but sure. Okay. Noted. Thank you.
Anyway, I get what you're saying, but I would not say the government was genocide is a specific term that very few countries, if any, have been.
What do you think Manifest Destiny and the Mission into the Wilderness were about, if that's not what they were about?
Going and colonizing mostly empty land.
In other words, taking it over and making it ours.
Winning
according to
the same way.
According to the doctrine of discovery, those lands were empty. So the doctrine of discovery was a doctrine endorsed by the Pope, which basically said that any land that does not have Christians in it, no one lives there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was an explicit doctrine that they put out that if somebody
Yeah, the
wasn't a
Catholic Church,
Christian,
yes.
yeah, the Catholic Church basically said, if you're not a Christian, no one lives there. You can take their lands.
And that's
Maybe
why
you'd be happy.
I don't know if I read this, but Benjamin Horde said, "You make me so ashamed to be American." Thank you for the super chat.
I believe so.
Yeah. How did Andrew
So
Jackson
maybe
get his
you'd be
name?
happier with ethnic cleansing. Would you be happier with that?
That is an accurate term, yes. And I think there, like that is when you get to that point, that has happened all throughout history. And it's happened to civilizations that it was a real tragedy to see them go, but it's just a fact of life. We can't go and get the Greeks to go and restore their old empire because the Turks went and invaded and forced them out and ethnically cleansed them. From
Okay,
Really?
so
Greece
that's-
doesn't exist anymore? Where did you find this out? Because I've seen Greece on maps.
That's sort of a
Hellas,
traditionalist
yes, but
kind
it
of
didn't-
fallacy where you're basically saying because
Oh,
it's
my bad. I should have
always
said
happened,
the
then it's...
Romanoi instead
Are
of the
you-
Greeks, because
Are
that
you
is a
talking
more
about
modern
which
concept.
particular war?
Shit, fuck. There's a long history, but I'd start with like the Muslim conquest.
Are you
where it
talking
went
about
and
like
forced
the
them all
Third
to-
Crusade when the Latin Crusaders took over Constantinople and disestablished the emperor? Because that was Christian on Christian violence.
Yes, but you can't go and forgive Osman and his Turks from going over and taking over Constantinople.
Are you talking about Mehmet II or are you talking about someone else?
His dynasty was the Osmans.
Do you mean Mehmet II or do you mean someone else?
Who was the founder of his dynasty? That's what they consider themselves.
You mean
it
the
was
Ottoman
Mehmet II.
dynasty was founded by Osman? So you're saying
Yes.
he's the one who took over Constantinople like
No, it's
400
his
years in
dynasty.
advance?
He took over Meltaturk when the.
I think you're
Sultan was
talking
ruling.
about Mehmet II, aren't you?
I am. What I'm talking about is people say the Ottoman Turks, but I'm just saying like
it
was
doesn't fucking
Osman's
matter. The
fault.
whole point is just because people have done something in the past doesn't mean that we should just accept it as a normality, that we should just go, well, it happens, what the hell, who cares kind of thing. That isn't
Israel.
that isn't
And
what
now we can
everybody
have
thinks.
Christian
What can you do
nationalism.
about it?
Right.
We obviously need to institute Christian nationalism. Certainly
Which
don't
Christians?
learn anything about the religions that grew up on this
Because
land.
here's the problem with Christian nationalism. If you get like, okay, so the vast majority of Christians in America are either Protestant or Catholic, right? And neither of them can stand the necessary things to implement each other's nationalism. For instance, if the Catholics get power, they're going to want the papacy to have a say in the moral standard of the country. And the Protestants or the evangelicals, they will not accept that. The evangelicals, if they get in, they're going to ignore the papacy, which, you know, the Catholics won't accept. And, you know, if something like the Eastern Orthodox, for instance, if they get in, they're going to want the patriarchs to have the authority, and no one else will accept that. So the question becomes, what do you do when you get hold over a nationalistic standard implemented by a religion and none of the other denominations want to accept it? What do you do?
We already know what happened, Mark,
you
because
just
the
do what-
English Civil War happened, and we know how it took place, right? So you got to depose the king, and then he got taken captive by the Presbyterians, and then the Presbyterians started negotiating with Protestants about who's going to be in charge. Eventually, the Protestants pay him off, get the king, and execute him, and then they go to war again with the Presbyterians who want to install a new king. Religions absolutely do not enforce any kind of secular morality. They don't enforce a Christian morality. They just
I
kill
agree,
people
Kurt.
who are different.
I agree. It was more a question to anybody who is a nationalist to say, how exactly would this work? Like, what's the mechanisms you have for deciding what denomination will have control over rites and rituals and who's paying attention to who? That's really what I'm asking, because I've never got a good answer.
It's just going to be like what a lot of nations go and do, where it's just lip service, where they just go and say, we are all Christian, where we all go and push for societally conservative things.
Give me an
that go and
example.
work.
Is that what
Like,
Rob
for example,
wants? Is that actually
religious regimes aren't
going in-
are usually
going
pretty
in
strict
making-
about what
Going
the
and
sect
for
is.
sorry. You
What's
were
an
talking.
example?
Who was talking?
Oh, sorry. I was just, religious regimes are usually pretty strict about their sect or whatever, like Saudi Arabia or whatever. Like, are looking, but they're not usually so open that in allowing other sects.
Right.
I think one sect would have power, undoubtedly.
Do you think
Always.
that?
Well, they would
looking over
all
it-
look to implement their version because here's the thing. When you get down to fundamentalism, i.e. the inerrancy of your beliefs, they cannot be questioned, you automatically think yours is right and everybody else's is wrong. I mean, we see that currently with the arguments between them. And look, I don't have a dog in the race, but to expect say fundamentalist Catholics or fundamentalist evangelicals to be given power in a system and then expect them not to implement their version of Christianity and go, oh, well, we're all Christians, totally fine, all good, doesn't matter. I think that's not reasonable. I think that isn't what we've seen in history. It's not what they say they're going to do. I think that a lot of the time they will want to implement their, like, for instance, you have evangelicals, they will not want to consider the Mormons Christians. Right?
If I could
Rob
just
said that he would during the debate.
if I could just answer kind of like something you said earlier about
Sure.
When you look over at the most popular party in Germany, I don't know if it's the AFD or whatever, but the one before it was called the Christian Conservative, whatever. But they weren't really that Christian when it came to things. They weren't.
You mean the Christian Democrats?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. The words Christian is in the name, but it's just a way to go and say, it's just a way to go and drum up popular support because most people self-ID as some form of Christian, and they just see it as something that has worked in the past, and they want to go back to it because it'll work. I don't think that they are zealots who are trying to push in to it.
Okay,
Rob sure was, though. Hold on a second. Rob
Yeah.
sure was extremely zealous.
Absolutely.
Like, if we're going to remain on the topic of the debate, and we're talking about Rob and his positions, that's definitely what he was.
How was he zealous?
Here's the problem. Here's the problem with nationalism and going into, because on the political spectrum you get nationalism and then into fascism, right? So what happens is they say,
I get what you're saying.
it's a bit more complicated, but yeah. So generally what will happen is they will say, hey, I'm cool with all Christians vote for me. But when they have the power, it then becomes difficult to stop them from implementing their version of Christianity for everybody else. And this is a problem.
Yeah. Imposing it on everybody else.
They impose it.
Yeah, against those who do not agree with them. And it leads to rampant discrimination. Would you be all right with people being economically, socially, and culturally discriminated against because they don't agree with a Christian nationalist policy?
I think that when we look at, to answer your question straight away, because I know it can be annoying, I think that discrimination can be a beneficial tool because, say, there's a Christian that goes and manages to consolidate power and wants everyone to be their sect of Christianity. Them going and doing that will make the entire nation go and have like the same sort of thought process when it comes to like a basic understood morality. And with that happening, that has a lot of societal benefits, regardless of how.
Yeah, but it's got equal amount of horrible aspects to it. People being denied housing, economic opportunities, being shunned. I mean, we saw this in the history of the United States itself. Irish Catholics nobody would give them a job during the mass migration we had here because they were Irish and Catholic, and that was not, with people in power in law. That was just cultural that happened. Now, if these people actually if the ruling class at the time actually had an agenda that said, no, you can't hire someone unless they're a Christian, then what happens to these people? Like, you can't get
They would have to
housing.
convert, or they would have to go and renounce.
Yeah, but if they don't want to
Right.
convert, or if they're Hindu or Muslim or Buddhist
Yeah.
or Sikh, that's the problem.
Or atheist,
Or
or
atheist,
they're,
agnostic.
There's a lot of
right,
things that goes
or
into-
just say that they're a form of Christian that don't believe that gay people are bad, for instance, and
Yeah.
the Christians want to implement that standard of morality. What are you going to do when sort of a large proportion, like over 40% of people go, no, we're not accepting this. We're not going to accept this.
Well, if that happens, then like the societal like the pressure that's been building up in society over the past couple of years will finally erupt. But those people who refuse, like since they are in the, I guess it depends how armed they are, but it will go and will cause like a shift where either there'll be like a massacre or civil war or revolt that will have to be
Yeah.
put down. Either one or two things will happen.
Probably.
It
yeah.
devolves into violence.
one,
It
like,
devolves into
tolerance would
violence,
be-
and that's
some more
not a good
tolerance would be-
thing.
So how is that good
Violence
for
is the only way
America?
to go.
Where's the cultural
How-
cohesion? Where's
Or
the cohesion?
How is that
Hold
good
America
for
together?
America? How is it good for America that you're basically alienating and oppressing, marginalizing, thank you, a whole range of people in your community, and they are basically going to stand up to you because they don't want to live in a country that is doing this to them, just like you wouldn't, and even probably some Christians, and you're just going to go, well, we're just going to have to
Could I answer
fight
this
them
for you?
down. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, how is that good for America?
I would say that it would go and force some cultural unity again, in the sense where those who have means would either go and leave the country, making it so that a common culture will be established that way, or those who resist and
What if they don't
pressured
have
away.
it?
Resist?
Taking the Irish, for example, that was said earlier. A lot of them didn't speak much English, or it wasn't good, but they all
Irish didn't
What?
speak English?
What?
Or
Are
I'm just talking with
you
the immigrants
high?
earlier, like or
Irish
I'm talking
people
about their-
only spoke English.
Are you?
Are you like, where do
Their
you
accents
come
went away.
from? Oh my God!
So
Like they assimilate.
Americans
what I'm trying to
don't
say
have
is that
accents?
What I'm trying to say is they assimilated in the places that they moved to, with the exception of the big cities in the coast, like Boston or wherever. Like if they
So,
moved
Evan,
more into a certain
I
place, the
just want to
discrimination they
clarify
face
this,
made
because
them
you're sort of
assimilate.
going off on a really big tangent at the moment.
Yeah.
So what I asked was, how's it good for America? And you said it's going to have sort of cultural uniformity, and people would either, they could leave. So basically you're talking about exile from their home birth country to what other country,
Yeah.
I don't know, because you'd have to have someone to take them as refugees. So you're essentially talking about religious persecution to force people to leave because they're terrified for their lives,
Sounds
or
like the
violence
Inquisition to me.
in order to conform to a religious standard.
And no,
Yeah.
Franco had this. And
Yeah.
he just instituted death squads.
Yep.
So this is not like something
The
we have to
communists
wonder
are
how it plays
over-
out.
Well, I just
We
want to know
have
from
20th
Evan
century
if that is
history.
what I just want to know from Evan, is that what you're suggesting?
What about? Oh, go. Sorry.
There's a progressive way of having it to where like the pressure is mitigated, because a revolution is not good for anyone. It's not good for the people
No,
revolting, and it's not
it's
good
not.
for the government. That is why it would be done
Well,
in a progressive manner, and
but
it would be
this
done
is
in
the-
a smart way.
This is the expected outcome. This is how a reasonable person would see the outcome of religious oppression by any religion over a society that is multi-religious. Like Islam certainly isn't just going to shut up and take it. Neither will the atheists, neither will the Jews, neither will any of the Hindus, the
Sikh.
Jainists, the Buddhists. Yeah, you've got
The
tons
Jehovah's
of religion.
Witnesses would not be in favor of Christian nationalism.
And I might add, a lot of Christians won't be in favor of Christian nationalism.
That's why
What
it's
about?
always
And you said that people would
starts from
leave.
broader to smaller.
Those with means would leave. Well, what about those who didn't have the means to leave? What about those that they were being economically discriminated against? They couldn't get a job, they can't get housing, they can't do any of that. So how the hell are they going to leave? They're probably living on the damn street because they have no money, they have nothing, because they have been discriminated against by whatever Christian nationalist, faction is in power. That's completely lopsided.
The response would be, "Oh, they want to leave. We'll help them. We'll help," or something like that. But also, like, it's an interesting point about like the sects, like what they would have issues. Like, there's not like a singular sect that was clear that they would set the rules, and at least in America. But I don't know. It's an interesting point, but it's sort of an aside, I think, to the more important issues.
I just don't think that sort of oppressing people and persecuting them to the point of sort of starting a huge war and infighting in your country is particularly good for that country, especially when you can say, hey, all religions are fine. You can be religious or not, and have a secular country where you can be whatever religion you want and still, apply for a job and, go into government and support your country. I think that a country's culture is not defined by a religion. Because there's plenty of countries around who are very irreligious, yet they do have a very strong culture.
It depends, because it's either, taking some of those examples, they either have a society where they have a majority ethnicity or culture that is there established. We're in America, where it's a multi-ethnic country that is majority Christian. So if we lose the Christianity, there'll be very few finding people.
No, sorry, Evan, I'm from Australia. That won't fly. Like, I'm really sorry. We're multicultural. We're a boiling pot, and we're not majority Christian.
Mark Reed,
yes.
Most of your country is majority white, and it has it's fairly recent. And rather recently, there's been a lot of Indians and Chinese going into the country, and that's causing some strife, from what I understand. It is
No, it's not.
No,
it's not.
No, not from all my Australian friends. No. I get people from Australia that come on my tours all the time, and that is complete bullshit, because I've asked them the same thing, whether or not immigration has had a detrimental effect. The resounding answer is no.
There are 2 super chats. Nobody on fire. Evan, let's go ahead and get a justification for not supporting minorities.
Oh, wait. Oh, what was that?
Oh, he was asking for a justification to not support minorities.
Oh, what I would say there is that for a lot of I'm just thinking of with the recent things with just looking at the SNAP benefits and stuff like that. There's been things that have been revealed where there's a sense of entitlement. And furthermore, there's been a lot of fraud where
people feel entitled to eating.
No,
it's not
they are going, and if you look at it, people who are on EBT or who get food benefits, they tend to spend double what the people who are not on it do, which means that they have no sense of it.
Well, yeah.
What?
The people not on it don't have money, Evan. They can't spend money on
buy
food.
more food when they can buy food.
That's what you told you.
Yeah. That's ridiculous.
They have money, they just don't save it. They waste it irrespectively.
Evan, I have actually worked on financial products for people who are.
I am in a family that has people who were on.
I probably sold a product to your family. I'm just going to lay it out there. The problem is not that people are spending too much. The vast majority of people are not making enough to cover essential expenses. When you're in that category, that's what those things cover. The idea,
80% of them work.
Yeah,
most of them do work. It's just they're horribly underpaid.
And this is not minorities. This is just people on welfare.
People working at Walmart.
Mostly
white in America.
Something like 80% of the people that work for Walmart have to have food stamps just to afford food.
And
questioning that. I wonder why we have a Christian basically getting upset because we're using money to feed people.
Yeah, that's really terrifying.
Walmart has a department
to go.
They aren't even pretending anymore.
Yeah.
To go and
Walmart has a department whose job it is to help their employees get food stamps.
It's on the onboarding. It's part of the onboarding.
It is part of the onboarding process.
I hear what you guys are saying. Mark, to answer what you were saying, the issue is that to go and force people to give charity, it's not charity anymore, it's theft. So people who
religion does that. Religion says be charitable or else you're going to burn in hell.
You ever
How is
heard
that
of
not
tithing?
forcing people?
Have you ever heard of tithing? Try living in like somewhere like Utah or something.
Real fast, there is a guest trying to join. The panel is full. We have 9 people on the panel and then 1 in the back. If you would like,
I'll bop out.
Well, I was going to say, if they would like to pay to remove somebody, they can pay to remove somebody and get a slot. It's $25.
If someone can pay to remove me. I'm cheap.
Nice.
Well, we're gonna do you to $12.50, mate.
Short.
We're gonna have a special.
12 and a half.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I need to
One
make
time
sure
good deal for you, American GI.
There you go.
Benjamin Horowitz, though, he said they aren't even presenting you.
Oh no,
But
brother.
I do want to hear Evan's sort of answer to that religion isn't sort of sort of forcing people to give or to do act in certain ways for under threat of either in saying hey there's heaven or there's hell if you don't do it.
It's not only that. In some places there's
Mark. Like when it comes to like some of that stuff, if someone is like in a place where they're not making too much and they're like in lower middle class, they pay like a bit like a 10% or 20%,
well, that's
or like
tithe,
when they go to
Look,
the tithe.
the
But when it comes to
reason-
like charity with like big sorts of money, that should be done by those who can go and afford it. Like I know in just taking an Islamic example, like they're supposed to give like a third of their income to either charitable endeavors or building a mosques or whatever.
No,
And
that's
and
not
like
correct.
Christianity is like similar in the sense where those who have access money to give, they can go and give it, as opposed to just trying to go and squeeze it out of people who don't have
It's
it.
obvious why Christians want the government not to allow people to get their basic needs met. It's because the Christian business model from the beginning has been to be in places where the government doesn't do enough and then meet those basic needs for people on the deal that they will become Christian. That's been the case since the founding of the religion. You can read.
Why do you
about
say that like it's a
documents from
bad
first and
thing?
second century.
Why is that a bad thing?
Because people shouldn't have to lie to be a Christian. Don't you
Why
think
not?
that people should be a Christian because they think it's true
Why
and not because
not?
they're hungry? Are you seriously?
Do you think people should
societal
pretend
benefit
to be
that way.
Christians? Do you think people should pretend to be Christians even though they're not?
Yes, because pretending eventually, like one pretending goes and has it where you have to go and pretend to follow a certain moral structure and then pretending follows into
But if you're
going and acting
pretending,
like it.
you don't think it's moral, so you're not bound by those moral designations,
Isn't that
right?
just
You're
another
just saying
form of lying? That's pure
it is.
dishonesty. That's pure
just to go-
dishonesty.
It doesn't.
God would see through it.
It's
too.
it doesn't matter. In my opinion, it doesn't matter if it's real or not. If you do something enough, you start to believe the lie.
Hold on a
So
second.
you're saying,
no.
you're saying, you should force people to lie and pretend to be Christian because you think that it will compel them to actually behave and therefore accept Christianity over time because they're acting that way anyway.
I mean,
like,
Mark, that's
just
literally the business model of the religion from the beginning.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if even
we
do
do
you
the
see
same
this as a
thing in modern
good thing
society.
for people?
Yes, if we look at modern society today, we are taught tolerance. Even if there's cultural things that you don't quite disagree with, you have to act tolerant. You have to be tolerant, even if in your heart of hearts you may dislike one cultural practice or another. You may have some.
Well, it's not to
sense of
change a
xenophobia or
religion,
something
Evan.
else.
Yeah,
It's
and not
for
only that.
societal. No, wait a second. It's for societal cohesion, not for
Jay Money,
to
are
change
you
you
there?
into a religion.
Pay money.
What's
Wake
the
up, pay
difference
money.
between societal
Yeah, what's
cohesion
up,
and
bro?
religion?
religion.
Listen to the conversation, J Money.
No, it isn't. A religion is a structured worship of something with, ceremonies, traditions. It contains a lot of baggage. So this idea of religion being anything, like I think Jordan Peterson says, religion is something you prioritize. To me, that's that's not religion. It's just something. Religion to me is sort of a official and structured worship or adulation of something, basically, most likely more higher than yourself.
An anthropomorphic.
Well, I don't think it needs to be that.
It doesn't have to be that, but a system.
Sure. That's one thing. So when you're talking about,
is a resident, not Christian, and I'm really interested in seeing what his opinion on Evan is at some point in the near future.
Well, I mean, I don't agree with Evan at all. I feel like, there's no point in faking it. Like, religion has no place in government. That's something that's separate. Like, none of those books belong in any form of official capacity in the government.
Totally agree.
Decisions that are made that have actual jurisdiction over everybody, that were based on logics of the books. Like, a lot of those books are flawed. A lot of those books have holes in it. A lot of those books have atrocities in it. And the Bible, the Quran, and all of them are no different. So you shouldn't force that upon nobody, just like you shouldn't force general ideologies. I shouldn't force my preferences upon you. If I want apples and you want oranges, I shouldn't stuff an apple in your mouth. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I feel about that. I think that that's an extremist point of view, and like it's no good, no matter how you try to spin that.
I can understand and I can sympathize with like that idealistic thought, but the thing is that in society, in like the world, it's like I believe in like social Darwinism, where you see like a lot of it's societies fighting against each other, and there's a lot of cases where like if it's just eat or be eaten, and you need to have the strongest societies to go and maintain your own autonomy, otherwise you'll be destroyed. And when
social
Darwinism
we got a big
a thing. Chat from Karen Dave. He says, "I release Kurt from his bondage. Be free, Kurt."
Go in peace, Kurt.
He's gone.
You are free. You are free.
Gone, Kurt.
Right. You're welcome, Kurt.
We love you, Kurt.
We love you, though, Kurt. You're the best.
Karen and Kurt. It was great seeing you. And
Can I?
There was a pagan. You said they can join in.
Yeah. Goggles. They're a friend of mine. You'll love them. Cool. They're not a white male atheist. It's amazing. I just wanted to point out that like this is all based on a premise. Like even if we accept that all of this is moral, Evan, even if we accept that all of this is like reasonable and a trade-off that we ought to make or that is justified by history, we could grant all that. But then you would still have to make the case that Christianity is good for society. And like other than vague appeals to the things that Christians value, Christians tend to obtain slightly more. You don't have anything. You don't have superior crime stats. In fact, if anything, Christians in America are overrepresented. They're particularly heinously overrepresented in sex crime. If anything, Christians are not are not underrepresented in white collar crime either. There's this idea that I can once again. I'm happy to give you sources. I've got them all queued up, and
I'm just curious. When you say this, are you talking sheer numbers or are you talking per capita?
I'm talking proportionally per capita, and of course, we would attune that to the fact that the majority of Americans are Christians. So when we say overrepresented, we mean. Yeah, is that of course if it's 93% of Americans are Christians and we see 95% of convicted sex offenders, then we know that could be statistically significant. Turns out it is. So what even are we winning if we were to go along with your plan? If we agreed that it wasn't morally reprehensible for a moment on a lark, what would we even win?
Well, I would say in the case of the United States, when looking at a lot of that, when I think of the kind of people who end up imprisoned and who go and commit a disproportionate amount of violent crime, they tend to be blacks, and most black people in the United States tend to be very Christian.
Crazy. Not necessarily
that
true.
That is not correct.
That is not true. Yeah.
The majority of sex offenders in America are not black. And white people
Like molestation. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And for both adult and both adult and PDF file. Well, that too. But I want to say white people are overrepresented in those stats. So you can't just sit here and appeal to your little pocket racism doll.
I was saying specifically violent crime, and when I think of violent rape, that I think that
it doesn't matter what you think of, Evan. Like what we're talking about is what the statistics actually reflect. And you get these secular countries that don't have a majority religion. They're very secular, like Norway, Finland, Sweden, Denmark, Netherlands. There's a ton of them, and they don't have a massive crime rate the way that the United States does, and their happiness index is so much higher. And it's sort of like, okay.
But it's not religion. It's drugs. It's guns. It's because correlation and causation. Like the U.S.'s crime rate.
And contrast that with, just as a contrast to that, look at the most religious ones, the theocracies that we have right now: Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, Afghanistan.
No crime in Saudi Arabia. Very low. Very low.
Oh, it is, but that's because they have draconian. Brutal.
That's a different point.
Okay. No, it's based on the religious. No, but it's based on the religion. Okay.
With draconian laws, though?
Evan, if it were the case, hold on. If it were the case that was an argument for an ethno-state, once again, let's just grant that for the fun of it. Wouldn't that imply that your ethnicity is the problem? If you're the one who's overrepresented, if your values are the ones who are overrepresented, don't other people, can't they gesture to that using your own logic and say, actually, Evan, you're the problem. You need to go now.
When you look at those sorts of nations, those are primarily...
We're talking about America still.
And Northern European. If you look over in America and you go just purely Christian and you look deeper into that, it'd be... I haven't seen the data and the further specifications into it, but just taking what you said into account, if you go and... I would say that if Christianity goes and does lead to some things where potentially, just taking this as an example, I don't quite know anything about it because I don't have much experience sexually or anything like that. But just taking like marital rape.
What has that got to do with anything?
I'm just saying like examples, like he said, sex crimes, and we were bringing that into it. Like just saying like marital rape, where it's like an assumption within the religion of marriage is only made for reproduction. You need to go forth and multiply. So if the woman goes in like screams because she's being raped by her husband, and that goes and causes it, and let's just say that isn't a reason for like why the sex crimes are going up, then I can understand where that would be a major downside.
What are you talking about?
Evan, are you okay?
What are you
trying to say
about?
Here?
Yeah, where are you going with this?
I'm sorry, mate, but that made no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
That made zero sense. You've got to understand that even if these morals were implemented, it seems to be that Christians break them at a higher rate than, say, atheists.
Or other religious groups.
Well, in terms for atheism, like there's a large portion, a reason some atheists can happen is there are those who tend to have some higher IQs, so the basic sales pitch for the religion tends to not fit them because it's made for a lower IQ demographic. And the people who have higher...
First of all, you're arguing on a false equivalence here because IQ doesn't really mean anything in the long run of things. It only measures... No, let me talk. Only measures a certain aspect of intelligence. I am a communication and media professor, and I talk about this sort of thing quite a bit. I have done research for over 10 years into a variety of things like this, and you are dead wrong. And if I can go back just a little bit here, the racial statistics that you're bringing up are also dead wrong. Data has shown again and again and again that the majority of violence comes from right-wing Christians who are white and male.
Bullshit.
In the United States, no.
Dude, I have done over 10 years of research on this.
Totally
Don't tell
right.
me what is bullshit.
She is totally right.
When you go and you cherry pick statistics and go and say
it's not cherry picking statistics, my man.
Where people are only in racial gangs because it's
You are
that's what happened,
being
Evan.
incredibly racist, and you don't know what you're talking about. You even admitted a couple of seconds ago that you don't know what you're talking
care.
about. I do.
I don't care. Am I wrong?
Can we get
That's one thing I care about.
Professor Giggles? Do you
Yes,
mind if
you
we
are
get
wrong.
like just a rundown for him, because the statistics absolutely back this up. And before Trump came into power, like the FBI was looking at white Christian nationals as being the largest terrorist movement within America. I'm not saying
domestic terrorist.
Domestic terrorism, and the white Christian nationalists were the largest contingent of that domestic terrorists, right? Like, so, you know, what you're saying, it's against the statistics. It's against everything that we've studied about it.
That's for political violence. That's specifically for political violence. That, you know, it has nothing to do with the rate. They're not comparing the political violence compared to, you know, the people who are some race and did violence or whatever. They're simply not being compared. Like, is it
what?
Like, you bringing up like right wing versus left wing violence or whatever? Are we saying that like that doesn't mean that white Christians are disproportionately do violence compared to like other groups or whatever? Like the thing about
actually, Joan brought up
violence,
left wing versus right wing violence. Actually, well, Joan, Professor Giggles brought up left wing versus right wing violence. Actually,
right. I just but that's specifically political violence, to be clear, though.
Yes. Okay, but even if you look at the statistics of what we have in America, the majority of people so far in America are white. The majority of people are Christian. Wouldn't it stand to reason that the majority of people who are committing crimes would fall within those two demographics?
No.
Well, we want to take it on a pro rata basis.
Purely socioeconomic factors. When you look at that, most white people tend to be doing fine. They're in the middle class so they wouldn't have a need to go and do crime, as opposed to those who are doing worse socioeconomically.
Correct.
And that would tend to be minority groups.
Okay,
so
I would call bullshit on that.
They still do
crime.
Percentage even
okay,
further.
well, I'd
bullshit.
say to you the same thing. You'd probably need to back that up with some citations or statistics, mate, from some reputable source, because that's a rather bold claim.
Yeah, that's an extremely bold claim. I mean, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of white people that are just as economically disadvantaged in this country in different areas, and they do commit crime. Okay, and they do that, and they are also very religious, mostly Christian.
There's a lot of white people with money that also do crime. There's a lot of white people with money that also do crime. Like,
exactly. We're not talking. We haven't even touched about like white collar crime, right? Like these people aren't doing it because they need the money. They're doing it because they're trying to manipulate the system more in their favor. Like
what's the actual claim being made?
If it's being poor correlates with a crime,
I would say
there is no society that's ever existed on this planet where that wasn't true. Poor people commit more crimes generally.
I would correlate it with being poor and in an urban environment. If you're in a rural environment, then it's much harder to go and do like scale.
No, it's easier. No, it's not. It's easier. It's a hell of a lot easier.
Let me rephrase that. What I mean is that you aren't going to get caught by the police because there isn't as much of a presence as in the urban areas.
That's also false, though. I'm sorry, Evan. Rural per capita crime rates aren't significantly lower than urban per capita crime rates if you like actually amortize them across the whole country.
When you say in urban environments, what are you specifically talking about?
Suburb density or greater.
Okay. All right.
Major metropolitan areas with a population of more than 250,000.
Yep.
It's like more than twice as high in urban areas than in rural.
It is at an absolute scale. Yeah.
On an average overall, if you look at the entire country and combine all of them together, it comes out to almost equal. There is a little bit less for rural areas, but that is only due to lower law enforcement, and it's easier to get away with those crimes.
Yeah, we have to infer and try to correct for the fact that we can't see crimes that don't get caught, and when you do those corrections and stuff.
commit, or people can report that the crime has been committed. My house got
And
robbed.
do you know who commits
That's a
very
crime.
few crimes?
There
Do you
it
know who
is.
commits very, very few crimes?
I would say
Asians?
those who
Just kidding.
funnily enough,
Immigrants
Oh, that's
commit
true.
very,
Yeah, right.
very few crimes.
yes, because their position is very
No,
they have to
not
mind their
illegal
toes.
immigrants. No, not
I'm not
illegal, just
talking-
immigrants in general.
I
Just
know,
immigrants
I know,
in
that's
general,
what I'm
even ones
saying.
that are legally coming in.
Yeah,
It's actually
they
true
have
that
they want to go and try to do well in their new
illegal
place.
aliens that actually commit even less crime
Less,
per capita
yeah.
than do
Sure. They won't be found.
the legal immigrants. So and generally they're
How'd you
happy to
even
be
know?
here, and they don't want to run into the police. So
And they do the hard
commit less
jobs.
crime.
And
They
they
do
do the
that
hard
too.
jobs. You know.
There's already some skewing of data going on because technically 100% of illegal immigrants have committed a crime.
Yes, they have.
So there's definitely some special basket.
No, they have.
Hold on a second.
No, that's a civil matter. It is not a
Yeah.
criminal.
It's a
matter.
civil, it's a
Exactly.
civil infraction. It
not
is not
committed a
it is
crime.
not a criminal one. It's a
Come
civil.
on,
They
Denizen.
shouldn't have be here. Period. The fact
Who
that
are
they are
you to say that they shouldn't be here, though?
I
Yeah.
think we should.
a
Crazy.
citizen of the
That's-
nation. Hello.
And
Okay,
part of
I
the
am
process.
also a citizen of the nation, and no human being is
It's a
illegal,
crime.
particularly on stolen land, my friend.
It's a
My
misdemeanor.
wife,
Stolen
yeah.
land, my ass. Every piece
It's
of
not,
land in
it's
this
civil.
world is stolen.
Yeah,
Yes,
Evan, maybe
dude,
we
you're
should.
over here trying to justify
It's
genocide
a
about a half
violation of
hour
federal
ago,
law.
and then you're
USC
talking about the things
1325.
not being stolen. Give me a break.
Well,
America is for
if you
everybody.
want to go and feel guilty about yourself, you can go and
Ooh, look at
give
that
away
projection.
all of your
You doing all
land,
right there,
go
bud?
and jump
Okay,
off.
okay, stop. Even
go
no
ahead.
one's
Okay, guys. The
guilty of
topic is
anything.
either is Christian nationalism good for America?
Okay,
Or so
just-
all the stuff back into that, or does the Christian God exist? Because it sounds like we have a Christian here.
Well, I mean, we're talking about Christian nationalism, right? So I'm happy to
sorry.
stay on the subject,
Yeah.
BT. But even like you haven't really explained why having sort of this system of morals dictated by ostensibly a few sects of Christianity on everybody else, why the antagonism that will provide to every other religion and every other demographic within the country is going to be a good thing. You haven't addressed that. All you've said is, hey, we can do this. It's like, yeah, but you admit that that's going to antagonize everybody and probably lead to civil war, unrest, rebellion. How is that good?
Before I answer that, I just want to say I'm sorry, Professor Giggles. I kind of lashed out, and I'm sorry about that. This should be an intellectual matter, not like a personal tax. But in regards to the actual benefits, the benefits that would have, as opposed that the
Like
tension it would cause, is that I would say the benefit would be.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm just trying to. When it comes to the main benefit would be that it would go and reestablish a sense of community. And
No, it wouldn't. Why? That it wouldn't. You would be excluding a large amount of the population because they would not want to participate in that. They would be.
Yeah, you just did admit
defeated
that it would
yourself.
lead to civil war and unrest and people
Potentially,
fighting
if
with
it
one
was-
another.
No,
If it
not
was
even
done on,
that.
like,
No,
a-
not even that. Not even if it was civil war or violence or tension or anything like that. It would cause further division amongst the population, and there would not be as much cooperation because people would not want to cooperate with other groups in the out group. The in group would have all the control, and the out group would be marginalized. They would be discriminated against, and they would not want to participate. That is no way to build any kind of cohesion in a societal structure. That's
And if I
exactly the
can-
opposite
And
way
real
to do it.
fast.
there would be like, sorry.
Yeah,
As we're
real
saying breakfast,
fast. I actually just realized I hit a couple goals tonight. So I'm going to gift 5 memberships. I was just going to gift 5 memberships if we hit the 1 goal, but we hit 2 goals tonight.
Ooh. You were going to do that anyway, Taco.
He's a big softy.
So I just gifted
out.
You
were going to do that anyway.
So hopefully 5 people that wanted memberships got memberships.
Back to my point.
We've got.
I can interject real
fast. I got a pause.
Hold on.
All right. Dennis Lewis is now a not idiot for the first time ever. Minotrow is now not idiot. Tukari Anissa is a not idiot. High Inquisitor is not idiot. And Alter Ego 34 is not idiot.
Woohoo!
So could I interject?
And there is somebody trying to join the room. If you'd like to join the room, you either have to wait for somebody to leave, or you can pay to kick somebody. It's $25 to remove somebody.
Yeah, you can pay to kick me, champ. Pay to kick me.
I will leave if someone kicks me, or if I get bored, or if But I really want to hear from Evan. But I think Professor Giggles did have something to say. And I think I interrupted her.
Giggles.
Come on, Giggles.
So here's my thing. So I'm pagan, right? Feel free to goof, laugh, whatever. It's fine. But like, why? Because I know people like, oh, pagan magic, it's woo-woo, whatever. But here's my thing. I would not want to live underneath an American Christian nationalist society, because you Christians, have no business telling me what kind of community I should be in, what sort of morals I should follow, and what sort of beliefs and values I should have. So your imposition of your religion and your values takes away my religious freedoms and my freedoms as a human being. What benefit do I get as a pagan living underneath Christian nationalism? I get nothing.
That's to go and answer that. I would say, directly answering, what do you benefit being as you are now? Nothing. I agree. When it comes to different communities, there are some communities that are purposely discouraged by culturally society and the government. Those who are actively communist, those are actively suppressed, along with active fascists. Those people are also suppressed. Those who are deemed too politically extreme, or those who have outside opinions of being like horrendously racist, going in.
You mean those that are oppressing other people?
No, what I mean is those who go and hate every other ethnicity that isn't them. When I say ethnicity,
we already have that. We have that. We have that.
You don't. If you think that's what you have,
yeah, we do. Have you ever heard of the KKK? What about the white nationalists, the separatists? These groups already exist
10 years ago when it was bought out by a black man. Did you know that?
No. Are we ignoring all of the rising racism that's fascism that's currently happening in America right now? And you're going
to the rising racism is the
what about the white nationalists that want us to see that live in Eastern Oregon and Washington and Idaho?
The Klan just put down flyers in everybody's yard about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, they're still there.
Can I ask you a question, Even, can I ask you a question just quickly? How would you feel and how would you react if Joan, who I keep calling Professor Giggles for some reason, and I don't know why. Sorry,
it's a cool name. It's a cool name.
It's pretty cool. But imagine if they got a bunch of people to agree with them and implemented paganism across the land, and you had the option to basically fuck off, right? Just leave, or accept it and pretend that you're pagan. How would you react to paganism?
To that? I would do what I go and did for like the past couple of years, and go and acted like I was a pagan, just like how I acted like I was like a leftist or whatever in university. And then when I'm done and I have the chance to go and remove the shackle, go and stab the knife back in there.
Right.
To go
so you would
dishonest. So that's
would rebel against them. You would rebel against them, and if they were like, you are going to be pagan or else you're going to be put down, it would turn into a bloody fight between the two of you, right?
No, if I was faced with force, I would go and go and assimilate. And if I sensed any, and like they were on the way out and they lost power, and I had the chance to go and like get revenge in the sense of voting, or to go and join movements.
Voting? What voting?
But it sounds like you're just capitulating.
Only pagans get to vote.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
All right. Assuming that they stay in power, I would go and stay pagan.
Okay, so you would just accept it and not never be Christian again.
You would have no courage.
And so over time, by your own rationale, in pretending to be pagan, you would eventually just become pagan, and your children would be pagan. Your religion would be wiped out off the face of the earth, and you would be okay with that.
It is what it is.
That's a
it is what it is.
That
what? Oh my
Let's
God.
be fair though. If pagans were able to take over the government, though, they would still let people be atheists.
That's true.
Probably.
This is true.
And
that's why I would be like pro-pagan nationalism over Christian nationalism.
Would you see that as a moral thing to do? Would you see that as a moral thing to do?
I would say that it's a moral thing to do, to go and take power and to make sure that you wield it in the way that is the most benefit to society, whether or not that goes and causes short-term problems to go and have long-term.
But who are you to decide
happens.
who gets the power and who gets to wield it?
And that never happens throughout all of human history. That never happens.
I look to my betters to go and support them and to go and get them in a position of power to go and correct the nation.
You're not seeing my larger point. Why are these people your supposed betters, and why do their opinions matter more than yours or Mark's or whoever else is in here? That just because they have majority, in the nation right now, doesn't mean that they default to better or even good.
There are,
but
all right.
So I hear the same arguments from those who oppose like the current liberal systems that they currently live under. Though you could say the same thing. You could say the same thing. Whoever doesn't agree with the ruling morality or whatever, right? Isn't it all just someone's going to have something forced on them that they don't agree with? That's just how government works.
I would say that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like the basic thing. Like there is always going to be elites in society. I recognize that I will probably not get there, even if I have money. There's always a wall, and the best thing to do is to go and try to make sure that my kids or whatever can go and get as close to that as possible to breach it. But I know that I can't do it in my lifetime, and it's just doing what is best for.
What do you mean by a wall?
Family. Like the class wall or like the cultural wall or whatever of.
So you're basically saying there's not enough social mobility. So instead of changing a system to have more social mobility, instead you're going to tribalize, basically support your in-group over oppressing other people so that you're part of the oppressors and not the oppressed people.
Well, less oppressed. Because he admitted he wouldn't be part of the oppressors.
Right.
I mean, it's practical, though. You're saying it like it's completely absurd. It's pragmatic. And arguably, we all do that right now. Like, none of us are taking arms against fascists.
Well, the problem comes that what happens if the people in power start to do things that you don't like and you disagree with? Under your system, there is no way to remove those people from power like a secular government. If you're in the out group and you're being horrendously treated, you've got no way to change that. So
you described my experience as an American, so
Mark,
fair enough.
To a T.
Professor Goggles,
you did it better than I have myself.
If Professor Goggles gets into power and puts paganism implemented and then decides that, hey, Christians are going to be, sacrificed, and they find out you used to be a Christian and then they don't do something, or if one of your children say, hey, I'm not putting up with this, and they say, okay, well, they've got to be. Look, I'm really generalizing, Joan. I do apologize. I know pagans don't do that. I'm just generalizing. If they start to do something that you don't like, you have
there'd be room for atheists
of getting them out of power. You are stuck with them.
And here's the thing too, again, right? Like what is really bothering me about all this is the fact that, again, if we were to have a Christian nation, once again, I know I'm repeating myself here, you're imposing your morality, your values, your beliefs on people who have no business being imposed on. Abortion, for example. I know a lot of very conservative Christians don't believe in abortion. I think it's perfectly fine and a natural thing of healthcare. Why should I be forced to bring a child to term based on your values as opposed to my life?
Because it benefits society to go and have more people.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Could you see how they might feel the same way? Like that morality that you have is being forced on them?
The thing is that like when it comes to like abortion, like I don't mind because
Maybe
I can
not,
recognize it's a human being, but I'm also fine with like if you can get away with murder, go ahead, do murder because they are not protected under the law.
We're arguing two different points here. I don't think.
This is not on topic. This is not on topic.
Well, sort of the debate is what should the law be?
Right, but the law should not be
gonna...
right. The law should not be solely based on religious fundamentalist views. It should be based on an average, or at least one that is mutually beneficial to everyone, not just one select group.
And let's face it, it's not going to be Evan's morals. It's not going to be your morals. It's going to be the morals of whatever Christian group basically gets into power and has the money, resources, people, violence in order to set themselves up in power. Right. So how is that not a might makes right system?
And if we're looking at Project 2025 specifically, these people want Christian evangelicists and more like stricter sects of Christianity to come in and be the basically ruling class. I don't want that. I'm assuming the majority of people here don't want that.
No.
So what benefit does this have except imposing power and hurting the people just for the sake of some religion that I don't believe in?
And my point was causing further division in a population, which leads to more conflict, more discrimination, more strife, more problems. That's the problem. It's divisive. It is not. It will not bring groups together to work collectively for the greater good of a society. It actually works to the opposite.
So what we're not hearing from you is how it benefits not just Christians, but all of society. Because you know that society isn't just Christians, right?
Yeah, it isn't.
Yeah. So how does it benefit all of society and not just the Christian denomination that happens to get into power? How does it benefit all of the people who are put as a secondary class to whatever denomination is currently in power?
And furthermore, how would it protect those that are not in that select group? What would you do to make sure that they didn't go around and decide to pass a law to go and kill all people who are gay or trans?
I mean, you got to put somebody on the trains at the end of the day. That's how this.
No, you do not, Evan. Absolutely.
I did say that. I did say that.
Okay, sorry. I thought that was Evan. I was like, Denizen, was that you?
That was Denizen. Yes.
Okay, no, that's not even a joke, man.
No, that's not even.
No, that's seriously.
No, but how do you prevent? Right? How do you prevent them? How do you prevent this select in group from passing laws or legislating that certain groups are to be actively discriminated against? How would you protect against that?
You don't. The only thing that happens is that they know they can only get away with so much before.
So you don't. So
it becomes a problem that they can't control, and even then, if they go and they
so it's a problem that they can't control. So why implement it? That makes no sense. That would not be that goes completely against what you're saying for cultural homogeny, cultural for people getting along for the greater good. That would not happen.
Wait, just to answer to that, just taking the killing gay people for example, just saying that if they go and do all that, the society that is left over, by its very definition, is smaller, and like the more groups that they weed out that are minorities, it goes and it leaves that.
What do you mean weed out? Are you advocating for genocide?
Could you please?
You're talking genocide now,
no,
man.
I'm not. I'm talking about what the example you said, where they were taking Christianity, where you said, what if they kill all the gay people? What can you do to oppose that? The truth is that nothing can be done because the only people that can do that are the elites.
Well, we could not give them the power to do that.
Yeah, that it's not even allowing something like this to come into power in the first place.
All power is derived from the people. When you get down to the brass fundamentals of where power comes from, because you have you cannot run a military without the people supporting it. They have to be fed. They have to have certain things.
You can't.
Mark,
no,
but the military are part of the people.
No, they're not. They're their own separate class. They're their own separate things. Like if you look all throughout time,
military aren't people.
Yeah, our current military.
They
is
are
not
a different
the
class.
Our current military is all volunteer.
Yes.
Yeah. If you look at like around the cities and the people who go and join the military, the people who go and do that aren't the artsy types. They tend to be very, very conservative. They tend to be very, very religious, and they tend to be have a natural propensity to go into one inflict violence.
No, I work for the military, directly for the military, and you are completely wrong about that. Yeah. All of those points. I'm sorry.
A lot of people who volunteer for the military come from low-income neighborhoods, and they prey on marginalized groups like Black and brown kids. And so what are you talking about? And no offense to Hizzle, but I'm just like...
Yeah, for sure.
And so you don't think that those... or the people who don't have much, when they're given like a little bit of something and they have the opportunity to get a little bit more if they just follow orders.
Dude, there are tons of legacy leftists.
You don't think that they would continue to follow them?
Like, so you're advocating bootlicking to sustain yourself? Like, do you hear what you're saying here?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Bootleg to go and get by in life.
Spineless.
We're all doing it.
Evan, have you considered joining us and working on a project to make the government better and more fairer, rather than like debasing yourself? Like, I mean, look, man, I could forgive you and everything that you said, and you could come over here and we could work on making more fair systems and breaking down unjust hierarchies and giving people, like empowering people at an individual level. Maybe you would like that better. Like, would you like to try it for a few years just to see? It doesn't sound like this current thing will make you happy. It makes it sound like you're afraid.
It feels like to me that you're on this zero-sum game kind of thing, that you've got to hit someone down in order to get up. And that isn't what life is like. It's a non-zero-sum game. You basically, instead of whacking someone down in order to get higher, you can increase the size of the pie for everybody, and everyone gets more.
Right.
This
whole rights doesn't
take away rights from anybody else.
We tend to hit each other over the head for food.
You guys seem to be like assuming that this Christian nationalism would be like just forced on everyone, like or something like that. Where generally when people advocate for a set of like principles or laws, morality or whatever, it's to advocate for more people to believe in that. Just with the hope that that the majority or however much subscribe to that. So I think this assumption would be that a quote unquote Christian nationalist government or whatever, we should take the assumption that at least the majority of the people also subscribe to that, or we never really get to whether those rules, that morality is actually better than what we have or don't have. If we can't just assume that under that situation, at least the majority would be those people.
And real fast, Benjamin Horowitz says, I'm getting the feeling that our more conservative friends aren't on board with this whole democracy thing. Thank you for this.
I don't know if I'm conservative, but democracy has been a real disappointment to me lately.
Yeah,
well, I think democracy is the worst form of government ever tried, except for every single other form of government that has been tried.
It's the least damaging
I'm not so sure about that anymore, Churchill.
The best,
I've heard it before.
Well, the best government that has been done
Churchill?
over and over and over and over throughout time, throughout all eras, is monarchy, and monarchy makes sense.
No,
What?
No.
You're taking the piss, right?
What?
No.
I just want to be clear.
Okay,
I did not say that.
The monarchy is like the country is the monarch's personal domain, so they have so their wealth comes from raising the land up.
Where did the monarchs get the land?
And where would
from?
you be?
Where would you be in this feudal
on the system,
land,
Evan?
the indigenous people?
I would probably be in the fields working.
Yeah, you'll be a peasant.
I know.
And if you get hurt, you die.
Yeah.
They don't care about
That's
you,
why
or your children, or your friends, or your family. They basically will just say, "We'll die in the field, then, peasant. I'm not giving you some of my hard-earned cake here."
No.
That isn't quite right, Mark. When you look at like a lot of the lords or whatever, they did care about their people because they were of like the same. Like they were of the same culture and the same religion. So there was a sense of kingship, but it was like a paternal sort of sense where they didn't quite see them as fully human. Like they would look at them like,
yes,
yeah,
but they had
It's like
lot
working
of
for a
peasant
small business.
But they had a lot. They had a lot of peasant
Yeah,
uprisings because they would live in luxury while the peasants had nothing. And I might add, if you're talking about serfdom, serfs were actually a form of slavery where they were owned. They belonged to the land, and the land was owned by the lord, so they couldn't move. They couldn't do anything. They were basically owned as feudal workers.
And by that logic, if you're
feudalism is
arguing
dope.
for Christian nationalism, you're implying that same thing. Well, if you don't believe in the same culture and your beliefs, then you're going to be kind of less than human. Like, this, do you not see how this
I
connection?
told you this ends up with trains, right?
You become a second-class citizens with fewer or lesser rights or no rights at all, and then you are actively discriminated against, and you are marginalized to the point of abject poverty and pretty much homelessness.
the people like it was a if I get what you are saying, but if you there's no two buts about it. Like every society we have now is we're sitting on like comfort, but the foundation is laid in skulls and like taking from someone else. Like in the United States, like we are only in a position of prominence because we have the biggest navy, we are the world reserve currency, we have a active fleet going in destroying any pirates that stick up their heads. We go and we have beneficial regimes to go and project power. We have cordial relations with the major powers. Like when you look at all of this,
I would agree that part of it is the world trading order, right? Like the idea that there are certain rules and requirements you have to be a trading partner around the globe. And America actually got very strong by having a really good network of allies that it could trade with and basically increase its market share exponentially.
And it was enforced in blood.
We absolutely
That's the other
need
part.
the world. Yes, we need the world very badly for our GDP. We sell services to the world.
Right.
Services mean nothing. It's the actual material.
What?
It is the steel. It is the concrete. It is the.
They mean my house.
It is the resources. It's the actual things that you can interact with.
No.
Do you realize that
Hold on.
American culture has been exported across the world? Like globally, the majority of the world gets its culture and a lot of its values. We're talking movies, TV shows, podcasts, etc. from America.
It's a major
and that's
export.
that's exactly. It's a major export. So
intellectual property isn't. Yeah, intellectual property as well.
But wait until they figure out that
property is huge.
It's vaporware. I mean, that's not going to look good.
It's not. America has tons of amazing technologies that are difficult to replicate. And a lot of people hate this, but we're the best managers in the world. We're all really good at it. We're really good at financial management. We're really good at infrastructure management, and those things matter.
The only other one that
we should bring some of those things back here geographically, though, don't you think?
Yeah, well, the only other one that would come close to us would be the Chinese, and they're very good at managerial and also infrastructure, all the things you mentioned, and that's why we see them as a big threat. Yeah, and that's why we see them as a big threat.
I mean, to be fair, I understand that we relinquish the supply chain to them. Trust me, I'm not, but still.
Yeah,
we depend on them for.
Well, see, China doesn't really worry me that much. I mean, I worry about China. It's a massive superpower that is very close to me, and but my main worry is America at the moment because it used to be an ally, and it has. This whole thing about religion. Like my country is minority Christian. The Christians are the minority. We don't like it. Like the whole idea of Christians telling us what's right and wrong is not good. It's not good. Especially coming off the back of the Catholic Church and what they did recently with the covering up of all kinds of crimes. Do not let me bring it up because I will go on for this for hours.
Schools are worse than synagogues are is also pretty bad.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter because public schools don't go, here is our morality and you've got to follow what we're saying. That is what the Catholic Church does.
That's the point of
No, they get there. No, Evan, they don't make up that morality. They get it from society at large, and the laws and curriculum that is, yeah, and where do you think the government comes from?
The government.
All right, we've got 5 minutes until the end of the extension. I put up an extension a few minutes ago. It's at $0 to $50 right now. If we hit the extension, I'll stay on for another hour and keep this open. Otherwise, I probably do need to go to bed. But you can always pay me to stay up. So if you guys are enjoying the conversation and you want it to go on a little bit longer, feel free to submit some super chats, and we'll make that. At least I'll make that happen, and I can keep the conversation going, even if everybody else leaves. So
let me get this in real quick.
I just want to finish what I was saying, Mark. When it comes to the people who are making like these laws and everything, it's the lobbyists. It's the people who can fund all the different political options just to make them their do their will. It's not like the people going and voting in. If the people go and decide to do something, it's something usually self-destructive, like Brexit, or going and voting in, like something like that.
Sure.
Like people.
Hey, look! I will concede to you there is way too much influence of corporate money in politics in every single country across the world. I will absolutely acknowledge that. Right, but I don't think that is what. There's way too much influence with corporate money in politics all throughout the world, but I don't think that is where schools get their morality from.
Oh,
Can I interject? I'm an educator. I do teach in higher ed, and I get the results of the students that come in through the K-12 system. Now, there are plenty of things to critique about the American K-12 system. It is biased towards people of socioeconomic class and people of people who are white as opposed to by POC. There is a lot of things that need to be taught. Their kids are taught to the test. Kids are not getting the support and additional resources that they need. If you live in a poorer zip code, you're not getting the education and all the stuff that somebody from a higher. There's plenty to critique. But all of this to say is that you're still not getting your morality from school. You're getting taught the bare basics to survive in an industrialized nation, but you're not getting taught morality. Your morality is coming from your environment. Your morality is coming from the environment that you grow up in, your parents, your authority figures, your peers, the media that you consume.
Yes. Yeah, your social norms.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's. I mean, if we're talking about like saying please and thank you, then yes, of course, school is going to teach that. But beyond that, everything else is not true.
Completely and almost totally influenced by corporations in America.
Right. I mean, look at there's 5 or 6 major media corporations that control about 90 to 95% of everything that we consume. So what kind of messages are we getting when, you know what I mean? Like we're getting it more from other people. We're not really getting it from schools.
All the schools teach is how to be a good worker, how to be subservient, and how to be a good productive worker.
Do you think that it might be the corporations that have them do that?
Since the 40s, yeah.
Since the 19.
Well, I think there's more to it than that.
Since England, before the United States existed.
There is
the Industrial Revolution. Yeah, that's when it started.
Well, there is a foundation of scientific principles and, things like that. There's other stuff as well. I don't think it's just how to be a good worker. I think that's very reductionist.
It is reductionist.
It does. It tells you to raise your hand before you take a piss, for Christ's sake.
In the United States, it's very rigid like that. Or it's getting better, but
it's getting marginally better. But she's right that, it's having a huge failing, but the education system, the education system is not where you derived your morals from. That is from it is directly relevant to your cultural norms.
It's just where you get all of your politics and policies and ideas from.
That's true.
It's not like school doesn't teach you whether or not you're going to feel bad about hurting another person. It doesn't give you your empathy where your morals derive. But your conduct, your code, your manner of living and treating your fellow neighbor, that definitely is corporate influence in this country. I would argue corporate controlled.
Well, it's influenced when it comes to like what books they they go and assign people to read, how the teachers respond to it, how they grade, how they go and they teach history, like going from big man history to standpoint theory, and then for
the structure of school itself,
having certain countries which they value, which is valuing the losers instead of the winners, when we should only learn about the winners because the winners have the most influence in the world. Like you learn about
who defines them as winners.
The fact that they had global empires, the fact that they had golden ages, as opposed to going and
they ended.
But their legacy is still around.
Do you know what ended the golden age of Islam? primarily?
It is the fact
the Crusades.
No, what stopped the golden age of Islam is the fact that most people converted and they didn't have that large tax base anymore from the.
We got $11 in super chats. For
not really. A lot of the reason why it ended was theocratical control.
I'll give it another minute or two. If we hit that 50 goal, I'll stay on for another hour. Otherwise, I'll be going to bed. I am kind of tired. So
fundamentalists,
it's not bad.
Fundamentalists within Islam sort of
and Just White
decided.
for the super chats, as they're greatly appreciated.
Fundamentalists within Islam decided that you weren't supposed to question any pronouncement of anything from the imams and the leaders of the faith. So they started to crack down on anybody suggesting that, I don't know, lightning may not be vengeance by Allah and things like that.
Resistance against
the Golden
Reformation.
Age ended.
That sounds cute.
So they basically cracked down on scientific inquiry, and that's one of the main reasons why their golden age ended. Because before that, they were doing all kinds of inventions.
The highest percentage of people who are Muslim in the world is right now. So I don't know maybe right now is the golden age. So it's never been higher than
the
right
golden
now.
age is when they made a lot of progress,
like algebra,
math, and shit like that.
I would say
that's a definition.
I would say the main issue with kind of like that happened with Islam was the fact that there was a lot of Turkic invasions, and because of that, and the ways that the Turkic peoples conquered, a lot of the educated imams were killed. It's kind of like how at the end of the Black Death, like they had to go and like lower their standards for who can become a priest, who can become a monk.
Look, I'm not saying external factors weren't a factor. I'm saying that internal divisions and sort of the fundamental nature of the people rising to power is one of the main reasons why I'm not saying that external had nothing to do with it. I certainly am not.
Oh, you know what?
But that, when you...
It was the Mongols, not the Christians.
No, the Mongols were only a small Persian. Like there was the Seljuks that came before that crushed the Abbasids and made them lose Persia. And
the Mongols were the ones who sacked Baghdad.
Yes, they destroyed Baghdad, killed most of the people there, burned the House of Wisdom. They did all sorts of horrible things.
Yeah,
they completely depopulated the region. And
I was thinking it was the Crusades, but that was factually incorrect. It was the Mongols.
That was a lot earlier. Yeah.
Who ended the Islamic Golden Age when they sacked Baghdad.
Mm-hmm. But I would, oh my goodness, I forgot. What were we talking about?
All right.
Well, you seem to be promoting a might makes right thing, and I think that's what I want to leave on. Like, this is really dangerous when you start to go, hey, if I win, if I can crush my opponents, then I deserve to do that. That's a really dangerous position to be in. And it seems to me like we have a better way of allowing people to live together with different ideas and not having to subjugate everybody that disagrees with you. And that's why Christian nationalism is so dangerous.
And forcibly impose their will on others who are not willing. That's the most dangerous part. And like I said, it does not cause homogeny within a population. It causes division.
Nope.
I can definitely understand where you guys are coming from. I used to have that opinion, but the more I kind of looked at the world and just learned about history and just seeing trends, I just realized that what's going on now is that it's just soft scale and that it is just prolonging the inevitable. And if it was just handled quickly,
what's the inevitable?
For almost all of history, people have kept slaves. Does that make it right to keep slaves?
Okay, let's get a response to this, and then we'll go ahead and close out. So.
No, I really want to know this.
Because,
seriously.
I used to think no, but the more as I've learned about like the context of a lot of it, like we didn't have the technologies to go and have like a tractor or to go and move that sorts of things. So there's always been like plantations, mines, like dredging, like a lot of hard labor that just destroyed people.
Not answering my question, mate.
He kind of is.
I would say that right now, I think that I don't see how
So you think that slavery is okay if it's...
He's giving you a list of justifications.
So you think that slavery is okay if it's shit jobs that we don't have tools for?
Yeah, this is advocating subjugation of people.
I would just say right now, if you think about like the illegal immigrants and how they're being paid next to nothing, I would call that a form of slavery, and we're
it's human history.
But they're still free to leave. They're still free to leave, Evan.
But it's really, really hard to say. I would say I used to be a hard no.
Okay, you're pro-slavery. I mean, it's nice to know where you stand, but that is horrific, mate. Like the idea that I'm going to own you and you can't leave and have no say about it. Like, seriously, I don't know where you got your information from. But to own somebody as property and to be able to dispose of that property however you want and they have no say in the matter, I don't know why you would not expect that to lead to rebellion, revolt, and violence, because people will not accept that.
Mark, do you not?
I wouldn't accept that, would you?
Do you not at least think it's a form of regression, Evan?
One successful slave rebellion in the history of the entire world. Only one. And that was the Haitians, and that was because the French were being very stupid. Every other time, they enslaved people and put them in the military to go and...
Yeah, so we better not have slavery, right? Because there's no way out of it.
Slaves didn't rebel. Like, what are you saying, my man? Like, you're arguing that people...
easy to put down because they are...
It sounds like you're fine with slavery,
that's what I'm saying.
Even if you're a slave.
Like, just because these people do shit jobs doesn't mean that it justifies slavery. Like, where are you coming from with this?
Some sort of basic rights through either religion or a lord telling their like the high lord telling their mid lord who they have as their vassal, I don't want a headache. I need you to do something. And you can work your people to do it. And if you go and you abuse them to a point where they can't do that anymore, then I'll have your head. There's always been a protection to the common people.
What if they abuse them?
I'm really sorry.
Thank you for the super chat, Jeff.
I hope you're never a slave, Evan. I hope you are not, because you will find out the degradation, the misery, the taking of who you love, like your sons and daughters, and breeding them in the case of chattel slavery. I hope you never experience that, and I am disturbed that you think that's okay because someone's mighty enough to do it, like has enough physical power to force you into it. That is terrible. Do you understand that? That is absolutely awful. Like if you had your mother, your sister, your daughter, your son, your nephew, all enslaved, being forced to work to death for almost no food, starving, miserable, crying every night. I mean, seriously, is that what you're endorsing?
You understand that because you're on the comfortable side. You ain't the one suffering.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
Facts.
If you was the one that was on the receiving end, you would be like, man, that's wrong, man. These guys are out of line, man.
Yeah.
I want to live, man.
I changed my mind.
Just get along. Like, you wouldn't be talking how you talking. You're talking from a first world mentality. You're talking from the perspective of a person with shoes on.
Think about it even. You're enslaved. They take your daughter to go and, do horrible things to and make her a house slave, and when you protest they smack you on the face and like into the ground and basically say don't you dare get up, and you just have to wear that, or worse, right? Like take a whip to your back and flog you just because you said something that maybe the master heard something that you didn't say. There's no jury, there's no trial, there's no, I didn't say that, massa, and I'm going to be better now. Like, they just flog you, and they have a right to do so because you're property. They own you. They can sell you to a guy who wants to inflict torture upon people. Yeah. And the fact that you're okay with that because, if I do something, I'm going to be hurt. It boggles the mind.
You're arguing for a dehumanization of people based on their position of power, and that is just.
And with Christian and with this Christian nationalist thing, you're doing it on a theocratic basis. You're subjugating people, or you're marginalizing them to the point to where they are basically slaves because they don't agree with your theological position. Mm-hmm. That's what's really frightening about all of this, is that if you don't believe then guess what? You're screwed. And the overseers are going to reap all the rewards.
That's how I feel about capitalism.
Right, but capitalism is a great analogy. It's about the same thing, but doing it on a theocratic basis will make sure that nobody ever gets out of power.
I want to be clear, like being a slave in this system is way better than it used to ever be in history, and including chattel slavery. Like,
it's got problems. Well, I think chattel slavery is way worse.
It is,
but it has problems. But I think capitalism is salvageable, while chattel slavery and this kind of slavery in general, where you actually have a legal possession of a person, it's irredeemable. You cannot get a system where people are being treated well in this case, because people will always abuse their property. Because it's their fucking property. They will always do it.
And they'll always abuse their power.
Always.
And that's the problem with Christian nationalism, is they will abuse the power. Once they get that power, they will abuse it and use it to stay in a position of power for as long as possible. And those that are not in the select in-group are the ones who are going to suffer the most.
Friends, I'm going to take this moment to bow out. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
For the conversation.
Take care, man.
It was a real pleasure.
Good one, Karen. I am going to close down for the evening. I do need to get to bed. I've been kind of sick, and I do need to go to sleep.
All right, well, get well
hope
soon,
you feel better,
Taco.
Tacos.
Get well soon, man.
I appreciate you.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody, for the conversation.
Absolutely.
Take
Thank
care.
you for humouring me.
Yeah.
Sorry if it was a little out there, but
I appreciate you all.